Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the Mamluks podcast. My name is Sim. Along with me are my co-hosts, Noreen and Mort. How y'all doing this evening? Before we get started, let's give a quick shout out to our sponsors. HalfHourDeen.com is a place you go when you are looking for the private matrimonial experience. Get out of the swipe left and swipe right game and get on HalfHourDeen.com. WahidInvest.com is a website that is dedicated to Sharia compliant financing, Sharia compliant investing. Make sure you go to WahidInvest.com for all your investing needs. MyWasiya.com is a website that was created by none other than Joe Bradford. Joe set up this website so that you can create a personalized will, a legal will that you simply print out in as little as 15 minutes. And I don't know, you don't want to print it out in 15 minutes. 15 minutes for printing is a long time these days. You want to spend some time on it, on working on the website, and I think that process takes 15 minutes, and the actual printing process takes a few seconds. And then you go to a bank and get it notarized, and that becomes a legal tender will. And there's a special link in the description below where you can save some money. And that's it. How you all doing? We're back. See? Quick and easy.
Assalamualaikum.
Well, guys, it's been a fun week. A lot of episodes. We've been doing a heck of a lot of recording. Make sure you support us at patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. This is how we do it. We work harder than everyone. Do you know any Muslim show that puts out as much content as we do? You don't. And that's because we will outwork everyone. We don't have the largest market because, face it, practicing Muslims aren't very cool these days. They're not. We could easily be talking about, marching on Washington with, what's her name, Rashida Tlaib. That would make us cool all of a sudden, but we don't do that jazz. It's not that we don't like. It's it's not like we don't like them. I mean, it's just, everyone else is doing it. Why would we do it? You know, it's kind of, but it's like everyone's everything with regards to Muslim and Islam is just so like vanilla. Everyone's just doing the same old thing. That's why no one wants to go to these conferences that are happening all over the country. Everyone's just like, let me just put on some Netflix, watch some stand-up comedy, right?
Yeah.
Or watch, what was that new movie?
Bird Box.
Bird Box. Or Bandersnatch. Bandersnatch. Did you watch that?
No, I didn't watch that.
Oh, Bandersnatch was it was a fun concept. It wasn't a great movie, but I liked the idea.
I'm going to have to check it out.
Hey,
I
what's
can't
that
believe-
other movie, like something Moon or something, like Black Moon or something? It was about like this guy who creates like this alternative reality.
Really?
He works for some tech company, and he has like his own little Star Wars thing that he does, where he's the captain of like the. It's cool, huh? I forgot what it's. I think it's called Black Moon or something. I'll tell you what it is
It's on
later on.
Netflix? What's it on?
It's on Netflix. Yeah, it's so cool. I was watching it while I was working out today.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
movie. Yeah, it's pretty. Black Mirror. There you go, Jake. Thank you very much.
Mirror.
Black Mirror, every episode's a different story, right?
No, Bandersnatch was a Black Mirror production. It was the same people who make Black Mirror. They made one movie called Bandersnatch, and it's basically a choose-your-adventure style book that's made into a movie.
Yeah, but,
you remember
but what Mort's talking about, Black Mirror, it's not just one story. Every episode's a different story, right?
Well, the one that I'm watching is the movie thing.
Yeah, that's like, Bandersnatch. That's a Bandersnatch.
Well, it says Black Moon or whatever. I don't know. Maybe I got the wrong thing on my Netflix.
Black Mirror is. I know what you do, Mort. You just put on the TV and you're tired by the end of the day. You fall asleep. You're fighting. I've seen him. Mort always pass out on my couch.
Yeah.
He's always exhausted and trying to pay attention to the movie and ends up falling asleep.
That's what I usually do.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of Rashida Tlaib, everyone's upset at her about her usage of the bad MFer word. What do you think about that, Noreen? First, Noreen, let's just get Noreen's thoughts out of the way. I know she had some opinions regarding it, and I told her she has to come on and talk about it.
Yeah, he wouldn't let me say anything. But I didn't go online and read what everybody was saying, but just personally, I just feel like as a Muslim, you kind of have to, if you're representing Islam, if you're representing Muslims, you kind of need to keep like a little bit of decorum, and especially when you're on a national stage like that. And I don't know, I get it. Muslims come in all shapes and colors and flavors and whatever, and she's from Detroit, I think, right? Where's she from?
Detroit.
Yeah,
Yep.
Detroit, and she's like, this is how we're very colorful people or whatever. That's fine, but this is like a new job. I would not start a new job and start throwing expletives all over the place at my new job, especially if I'm like, what do you call? They call her a freshman congressman, right? So
Freshman congressman out of Detroit.
right. So so you have to kind of find your place, and you've got all these people who are senior to you, and they're looking at you like, okay, freshie, you're in here thinking you're all cool and you can start throwing around,
I completely disagree with you.
Huh?
Completely disagree with you, and I think our fans might be surprised. Conservative Sim, why? What's wrong with you? My thing is that she's not identifying herself as a Muslim as a Islamic politician or using Islam as her rallying cry.
Well, she wore that Palestinian dress on her.
Palestine doesn't mean Islam. That's a national identity.
True.
She could just as easily be an Arab Christian or Palestinian Christian and do her thing.
No, but she is rallying up a lot of support from the Muslim community.
I think that's fine, but she's not. Look, first of all, you have to understand this is politics, okay? Donald Trump has said MFR multiple times on many occasions.
He has?
Oh yeah, he has.
MFR?
Yeah, MFR.
I don't think he said that.
Oh no, he's not as a president, not as a president or a presidential candidate. But while he was, remember before when you're doing those stump speeches and stuff while you're on the road. So I know he was kind of building up a base like that by using a lot of expletives and stuff. But that's besides the point. That's not even here nor there. I'm not even using that as a base of my argument. I'm just saying that she's trying to rally her base and she's trying to get people excited and that's how a lot of these politicians work. Whether or not she has no part to play in regards to his impeachment. She's just a congressman and a freshman congressman at that. So she's not going to have much of an effect on anything. She's just it's just something like you go and to a Bears game and I don't want to use the Bears as an example. We just lost a horrible game.
Oh my God!
I don't want to talk about that. But when you rally your fans, you're just basically saying anything that comes to your mouth. And I think some people, especially, the conservatives, they're going to use anything too. But at least from the Muslim community, I thought, well, this was kind of stupid. I don't know what you think. Go ahead, Mort.
Yeah, no. First of all, just because you mentioned it, the Bears game, there's a GoFundMe to buy out Parker's contract. Parkey's contract.
Oh,
that?
It doesn't. You can just cut him.
No, they got to pay him like $6 million or something like that. He's under contract. They got to buy him out. So there's a GoFundMe page to buy him.
In the NFL, you can just get cut. It doesn't matter what your contract. Yeah, I think this is one of those joke GoFundMe things. Yeah. I don't think anyone.
What happened to the border wall GoFundMe?
Okay, well, hold on. Before we talk about the border wall, look, I'm gonna let you know about Rashida. So the thing about Rashida is this: whether she's advertising as a Muslim or not, she's really not. I mean, like Sim said, but I will say this: you are one of the first, pro-Palestinian, from first generation Arab American that is running, that really made news over there. Because most of the Arab background politicians are generally like third or fourth generation Lebanese. They're not really identifying with her Arab side, right? She was pretty much in touch with her Arab side. And I feel like you should have projected an image. The first thing you come out publicly is say mother effer.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that just looks a little bit like kind of
Well,
Just
it's
I mean,
marketing, dude.
no,
This
I
is the
get
way
it.
you
I get
market
it. But you're from the
yourself.
Democratic side where you guys were all jumping the bandwagon saying when they go low, we go high, right? I mean, you guys were all jumping on that stuff, right? So if you're gonna run with that party, those moral values or those core values, then let's adhere to it. Because imagine if Donald Trump said, "Hey, mother effer," right?
Well,
Right
he's
when he
the
won
president, though. He's the president,
huh?
though. More. That's not the right type of
No. I'm
analogy.
saying, what if he came out and said, "Hey, I'm gonna
Well,
get
so
all
what
you
if he
dem
did?
mother effers"?
Nothing would happen.
But what I'm trying to say is the Democrats would have been in hoo-hoo about it. They would have
Yes.
been all over the place, right? I mean, so
Everyone does
naturally,
that. That's what I'm saying. Both parties would do that to each other. You know.
but like I said, I just don't think it's becoming of a politician to do that. I don't think, especially when, I mean, can you imagine, like, you're mentioning your son? I'm sure somebody's going to play that clip at school, and then your son's going to hear, your mom saying mother effer on TV. I mean, it's just, I don't know. For me, it's just
For,
embarrassing for
I,
family values, for just
it looked like a
as
closed
cultural.
environment. It didn't seem like it was one of those public rallies. It looks like it was inside one of those restaurants where you do some victory speeches and stuff like that. And uh, I feel like everyone's becoming a bunch of grandmas. You know.
I
Uh,
mean, I don't think it's a big deal. I'm just sharing my opinion. I mean, if it happened, it happened. I'm not gonna like condemn her for that because she did it. I just don't feel like it's becoming of her. It's not good character to have. Especially when you're making a first run, right? I just don't think it's just appropriate. But my problem with Rashida is not even what she said. She could say mother for 100 times. I just think she's sneaky. I don't trust her.
I
That's
don't
all.
trust her either. Not one bit. I don't think
Yeah.
she's going to fight for the Palestinians at all. They've been duped. They're going to get duped again. They keep putting their faith in these secular politicians who just have no regard for them other than using them for their votes. And I think just like the PLO. Remember or the Palestinian Authority? They know how to manipulate people and utilize them to achieve their objectives. That's the same thing that Rashida is going to do, or anyone else in Washington. Washington is not a place where you're going to make any real change for anything. And the more this lie is repeated, people are just believing it. But I think we're at this point where people have begun to realize that there is no change that's going to
Put it back
happen.
there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think anybody that puts their hope in one candidate in office is deluding is delusional, to be honest. They are. I mean, there's not any one single politician that is going to drastically change this country. So I think we've talked about that in a number of episodes before. So I don't want to just
Yeah.
talk about that again. But I think everybody knows how we feel about that already.
Yeah.
Someone said it was wrong for using inappropriate land, but let's wait for her to actually be sneaky before calling her sneaky. But wasn't she sneaky with that J Street thing?
Well, that's the whole thing I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Like, she was totally cool with receiving J Street money until she got called out by people like Electronic Intifada. And then, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, J Street saying, oh, we're alienating ourselves from them. So I don't know, man. Look, politics in itself are dirty, right? It's a dirty business, right? In Arabic, they say siyasa and najasa. It is absolutely something dirty, and you're gonna get your hands dirty. You have to be dirty in order to achieve your position. So why do we expect her to be some kind of angel? I mean, we know you have to get money, you have to get influence. There's certain lobbies in Washington that have a lot of influence. You're gonna have to work with them, and you're gonna have to appeal to them. So why would she be any different than any other politician?
I mean, but what does this say for the future of the Muslim community? I mean, the fact that we now have Muslims in Congress, I mean, especially Muslim women, 2 Muslim women for the first time in history, and one is actually, wearing hijab. So a lot of people who are not as informed are very excited, and they see that this as like the future of change for them. Like, oh, someone's representing us in Congress, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, well, nonetheless, I still think it's still a milestone because it's important to see diversity in Congress, right? So whether I agree with them or don't, I think it's important that that Americans recognize that there are Muslims, even they may not be practicing or completely like every other Muslim, but that they take part in society, like they're actually involved. And I think it's important because we've talked about this in previous episodes. I think one of the reasons why Donald Trump was able to you know, isolate Muslims and pull them and pinpoint on them was because most of the Muslim community has been kind of hidden and secluded, right? They never really reached out. And I think had the Muslim community not been that way, it would have been much more difficult for Trump to basically trash on Muslims because people would have been like, wait a minute, you know, there are politicians, there are, you know, doctors, lawyers, et cetera, right? So I think it's good to have them be in the limelight so that people get used to seeing Muslims in public.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot on my mind regarding it. I wasn't upset about it, but apparently people were really upset. Like Noreen, she feels
I
like,
was not upset. I was just
I'm just like, I see
it
how
wasn't classy. You know, she had no
Yeah, you
class.
sound pretty upset, Noreen.
I think most
I'm not that
politicians aren't
upset.
classy.
I'm not losing sleep over this. Trust me.
I think most politicians are not classy people. They are people who manipulate people's emotions to reach their objectives, and that's how they are. That's in their nature, to exploit you, to manipulate you, to make you think that they're going to fight for something that they absolutely have no power or any control over. You know, so these are. Like, remember how everyone was excited? Don't you? I remember you when Obama got elected.
Oh, yeah.
Super excited, and you're still and you still think like, oh, Obama's so great and stuff, and when
My mom is that way for some reason. I don't know why.
I keep telling Noreen, I'm like, he didn't do anything. All he did was increase the level of bombings on Muslims, increase everything. He amped up everything, but still, like, there's this like dreamy persona over Obama because. Somehow,
I was thinking about this today. I'll tell you what it is. Obama did everything with a smile and with a positive message. And, because essentially what Trump is doing is not really much different than what Obama was doing. I mean,
he's just doing it to the opposite side.
Yeah, but he's just doing it with more tenacity, right? He's just bold about it, right?
Yeah.
But Obama would be like saying, "Oh, we love everybody," and at the same time, he's ordering bombs on Yemen. Right. I mean, remember, they used to call him deporter in chief. Right. I mean, he was deporting tons of illegal immigrants. Right. Rounding them up. And so he did a lot of these things. Right. But the problem, I think that's what people look towards in America. Like when people vote, they don't vote. I think most people don't even know the policies and point of view of politicians. They vote based on how they feel when they listen to them. And right. Obama was uplifting. He was positive. He was like, that this young faith, and he has all this energy and zeal for activism and grassroots movements, and as so he would say, and so that made people feel good, so they voted for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll tell you from my perspective why I was Obama, because the words he said, the things he said, was very moving and positive, and it was like and it was things that I felt like, okay, this impacts me. I live in this country, and these are good changes it's going to bring, and I'm excited for change, and this is all going to be great. The media that I was following did not show what he was doing overseas. I was not shown in my face that he was droning and bombing and doing all these deportations. I found all that out actually during the Trump era, because then people start comparing Trump to Obama. I was like, whoa, Obama did all that?
So I have a question for you in line of all this. So why did you feel that a politician would be honest with you?
I don't know. When he was in 2008, when he was running against, I think it was McCain at the time, like his speeches, whoever his speechwriter was, whatever, I don't know what it was, but it was just very, very moving. It was, he had a way with
I agree. I mean, I think he's a great orator. I think he's a great speaker. He's very articulate. He's charismatic. I agree.
He said all the right things,
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I mean, I still recognize that he was a politician. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a snake. He's still a wolf.
I think most of us are naive, to what, even with Muslims that are activists and in politics and stuff. Like, I remember when Ilhan first got, what was she, House representative in Minnesota. I remember telling Sim to get her on Mamluks. This is like a year or two ago. I was like, oh, the sister just became, whatever, and you should get her on. I had no idea. And then later I see that, her stance on, certain issues that...
I don't care what her stance was on what. There's no way I would have invited her.
But
There's no way. Because,
so tell me...
Because I know politicians at their core, who they are. because you have to understand the system and how it works in order to understand why these people can never live up to the promises that they give. And there's just the idea of someone who's being genuine and really portraying themselves as someone who's caring about your issues and then running for Congress as a Muslim. They could be
but hold
they
on.
could be a big
There was-
big turban, a scholar of
But
Islam or whatever.
you did
but
have somebody on. You never aired it, but you did have a Muslim, somebody who was.
But
No.
there's a
doing
reason
something.
why we didn't air it because
Why?
because it was so like weird. Like it was almost like he was a completely different person on the air than when we talked to him. Like I remember that. Like after after the recorded the podcast, and when we talked to him before and after, he was such a cool person, like different. But on the show, it was just like so conditioned, so restrictive, so like he was like holding back, and
So
we just
for the
couldn't air it.
listeners who don't know, I know some of the older or longtime listeners know about this reference. There was a politician that we had invited to come on, and he just basically became a politician on the show, and we ended up not airing that episode. So go ahead, Mort.
Yeah, and no, and I'm just saying, like, we just noticed that. I mean, it's just how it is, and we kind of mentioned it to him, and he's like, it's just the way it's got to be,
Yeah,
because
he had
I
a
have
handler. He brought a handler with him.
literally, and this handler was like, I mean, was literally every time we asked him a question, he literally had to turn back, look at the dude, and the guy would like nod or like shake his head,
Yeah.
and then it was like, all
It
right,
was
this is
ridiculous. So yeah, I'm over that. We've explained that in a few previous episodes.
I don't listen to all your episodes.
That's okay.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
usually.
Yeah. So I think
everyone
Tim is
loves
right
to
there.
listen to the episode. Here, Mamluk listeners, our hosts only listen to the episodes that they're on. Mort doesn't listen to any of them because
True.
he doesn't like to
I
listen
hate
to.
listening to my own voice.
He
You're
doesn't even
absolutely
like podcasts in general. He just likes to talk.
Exactly. I'm a loudmouth. Sorry, guys. No, I mean, but no, I think Sim is absolutely right, though. I think we're just over this idea that somehow one politician is going to just magically change everything for us and represent everything we believe in, right? It's just not going to happen. So let's just move past that.
No, and then there's the other thing that I don't know if I should say any names, but there's another Muslim activist who I was really excited about a couple years ago, female activist, and then later I started hearing like, oh, that person's just about photo ops and there's no real. But I get really confused because the Muslim community rallies behind these activists.
See, you have to understand the nature of humans, and that's what we're trying to explain to our listeners through our podcast, trying to educate them and trying to show them how what kind of ideologies that build the framework of people who are in power or who are who are in politics, and the people who are forming foreign policies. So we're trying to help people understand what the basic things are that make people who they are and what drives them.
Uh-huh.
What do you think in an American society would drive a person? I mean, in terms of just their physical character, or no, sorry, not physical, but their inherent outlook on life. Like how do they? What's their worldview? Like, I'm not sure if I'm.
You mean how do they come to conclusions about how they view the world?
Yeah.
Or like, well, I mean, it's usually news. I mean, people hear like propaganda and news, and through their like usually their circle, the social circles, right?
But how are they interpreting it though? Like how when they watch the
either
news?
either it's based on their political party or
Yeah.
it's based on their religious affiliations, and pretty much
But
those are
the
the two major motivators.
What the main driver is that it's me,
Me,
and
yeah,
how
how
does
it's
it
gonna affect me.
how does this affect me?
Yeah.
It's not about how it affects
I
society.
don't know if I agree with
how
that.
No, I think the main primary motivator of modern society is what interest do I get
Yeah,
from
where
this?
do I fit in?
So let's
How
let's put
can
it-
how can I benefit from this event? Well, when you see a stock or a company do good or invent a new thing, the way you're supposed to, the capitalist mind is supposed to interpret things is that, hey, Apple figured out a new form of text messaging. Well, what stocks will benefit from this? And that's how you're framed or you're conditioned to think about
Okay, so
things.
so I think you're talking about those. When I say worldview, I'm talking about like politics, religion, all that stuff.
Everything. I'm saying
Yeah,
everything.
right. So I don't think the average Democrat and Republican thinks about how things affect them. They think about, hey, does this fit the Democratic profile or the Republican profile? If it's something, for example,
No.
typically Democrats are pro-choice. Typically Republicans are anti-abortion, right? They don't really think about how it's affecting them. They're just thinking, oh, that's my core value.
I think
Typically,
you're completely wrong on that. I think
no,
no,
I'm
no.
saying
I think most of these politicians they think whether, irregardless of what their party's positions are on certain things, they think, well, what do I have to do to make sure that I stay in my seat, and what do the voters need,
oh,
and
you're talking about politicians or people.
what do my lobbyists need, and how can I make it all just
But are you talking
fit
about
together so that
politicians or
I can stay in
people?
power. We're talking about politicians. We're
Oh, I
just
think I'm a, you think
no,
because you're saying
anyone. I'm saying anyone in general in
see,
modern society.
politicians are much smarter than the common folk. I think, for
Well, of
example,
course
dude,
they're going to do it better, but
yeah, but what I'm saying is like I don't think, for example, dude, most Republicans were against the Affordable Care Act, right? Obamacare, right?
yeah,
Even though a lot of them didn't even know, they did such a good job of defining ACA as Obamacare. Most Republican voters were against Obamacare, but they didn't even realize they were on ACA. They thought ACA and Obamacare were two different things, and they were like, "Oh, our Obamacare is trash," because the parties told them that. They believed it. It was affiliation for them. They're generally against Obamacare, generally against abortion, generally for NRA, pro guns, right? They may not even own a single gun. They may not
yeah,
even live in a state where you can carry a gun, but they're NRA, they're card holders,
yeah.
right? I mean, this is something that it's collective group mentality, right? My party, I'm loyal to it. Even Muslims do this. All people, this is the nature of people. Oh, that guy's a Muslim, he can't be wrong. We're going to defend him no matter what. It's definitely Islamophobia against him, right? I mean, this is how
No,
human beings think.
no. You're still going beyond the self. I'm talking about me first, and my
I just don't
interests.
think people think that much.
No, no. I think that our society is conditioned to think about me first, and even on global events. Like, you ever wonder, like, hey, why doesn't any other Muslim country get involved in a country like Burma, who has such a ragtag military? Turkey could destroy them in a heartbeat. Saudi Arabia could. All these, so many other Muslim countries could get involved and help their fellow Muslims in Burma. But do you ever wonder why none of them do? Because it's really not in their interest. It's in their interest. If it's in their interest, they will get involved. If it's not, they won't. And that's the
Well,
only
I
point I'm
think we're
making.
conflating two things. Those are. I mean, like I said, politicians definitely work that way, but I don't think the common man
I,
thinks that way.
I think it permeates to the common man. Most common men aren't intelligent enough to figure out things, and it's like a whole amalgamation of various different philosophies or ideologies that they pick up through their life. But in general, what's permeating from the democratic capitalist ideology is this inherent selfishness that I got to take care of what's mine and what benefits me first before I even think about anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to agree to disagree because I just don't feel like the American voters are that informed and that reflective about what they're voting for.
Well,
I think it's just more about party
I'm not
affiliation.
saying they are. I'm not saying that they're super informed. I'm just saying that the ideology of the time, of the country or of the world, will permeate down to its people, and that's all I'm saying. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next issue. And since we were talking about people who appear like Muslims but are embroiled in some sort of controversy, you want to talk about what's his name, Rahaf,
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 Muhammad
Raf,
Qunun.
Rauf.
Yeah, Muhammad. No, it's Rahaf Muhammad Qunun. So she was like the Saudi 18-year-old girl who was trying to seek asylum in Australia, and she
Mm-hmm.
stopped over in Indonesia or Thailand. I'm sorry, in Thailand, and apparently, like there was the Saudis, the embassy over there sent people to intercept her at the airport, took her passport, and had basically informed her family or something. Apparently she had been traveling without consent of her family, and she basically barricaded herself in a hotel room and was on Twitter Live for hours upon hours, saying that she is an atheist and she's left Islam and she wants to get out of Saudi Arabia. She wants to seek asylum in Australia, and her family oftentimes will make death threats to her over trivial things, and she doesn't want to go back to Saudi Arabia. And this huge saga. Apparently, no one even took her passport. No one even like the Saudis didn't even confiscate her passport or anything, or nobody was holding her in this hotel. She self barricaded herself inside. But apparently, what happened was the uh, the Thai government got involved, and then like even the UN, like I think the UNHCR got involved. And now what's happening is her father landed there, and now they've granted her protection and extended her stay in Thailand. And I think the Australian government is going to look at her situation and see if she can get asylum. And apparently, she's gotten her passports back now, right? So apparently, yeah, and like I'm sure the viewers are looking at the pictures of her arriving in Thailand, and being greeted by these Thai soldiers and stuff. But apparently, she's caused quite a commotion, and I think that. It's kind of world news. I remember some people were telling me, I didn't even know about this, but some of the listeners of the show were messaging me and telling me that this made the 6 o'clock news and it was everywhere, and it's such a
Yeah.
huge deal. And
Yeah, it made like the top of Reddit. So I was like, wow, this is something pretty big.
What shirt was she wearing? Was it that Ellen DeGeneres, the Ellen Show shirt? Is that what she was wearing?
Who?
That chick that you just showed, Rafat, what her name was.
I don't know, some Ellen. I don't know. I didn't focus on those details, but
I have no idea.
Oh,
what
never
that
mind.
is.
I thought it was the Ellen Show. I couldn't see it.
okay, yeah.
So her dad.
The fashion
her
police has to chime in.
I was just curious if
I'm
she
just
was
joking.
on the Ellen Show because I can look it up on YouTube.
I mean,
But
this girl
anyway.
could potentially die, and Noreen's worried about what her shirt says.
No, so her dad is in Thailand with her. Do you think he's trying to convince her to like come back to Islam or?
Well, of course. I mean, I think her dad is trying. I don't know about coming back to Islam, but he probably wants to get her back to Saudi Arabia and check her. That's for sure.
You can check her in Thailand.
Now with the UN watching, like she's under UN like protection now. So, I mean, look. To be honest, I don't think the Saudi government even really knew much about it. I didn't really read into it too much, but they didn't really comment on it. I think, to be honest, the father has to tread very carefully. She's 18 years old. I know Islamically that we don't. I mean, there's a different idea about this, but look, man, this girl's made up her decision. She wants to go. She wants to leave, and by you trying to force her to come back is not going to change her mind. It'll probably further strengthen her resolve, right? She'll probably say, this is exactly the reason why I want to get out of this country, right? So I think rather than making a big hoo-ha commotion about it, okay, whatever, go on your way. I think what would happen would be ideal if I was her father. She's Saudi. She probably lived a privileged life. She was flying around. I would just cut her off. Go to Australia, see what you do. I mean, in a couple of months, she'll probably call mama and daddy, just to get her money back, and I mean, she'll call eventually.
But first of all, would Saudi Arabia even execute her if she became non-Muslim? Have you heard of any case like that?
I don't think it would be based on that. No.
Because I've never heard of anyone that actually got executed by any Muslim country for leaving Islam. I know everyone mentions it and talks about it, but I haven't heard of a single case. Or even when you read about the Ottoman Empire and the Uthmani Khilafah, I haven't heard of a single case that that made any news item that somebody was killed for leaving Islam. Now, my own understanding is that I think it was these type of apostasy laws were regarding how during an Ottoman or Uthmani Khilafah, right? How the caliphate would rule against that person accordingly. Now, there's two different opinions regarding this. I know there's the opinion that no matter what kind of citizen you are, if you leave Islam, there's the death penalty is the ultimate result of your disobedience or your abandoning Islam. But the other opinion as well is that if you are an active agent against the state, where you are not only have you left Islam, but you are actively fighting against an Ottoman Caliphate type state, then you would be put to death. So that's why I'm finding that although this claim is being made that apostates are killed, I haven't heard of a single incident
Yeah.
where somebody has been killed. I know like there's Muslim societies around the world. There's some villagers who will want to go and kill somebody. Those villagers.
Dude,
They
we
rabble, just like on
we have
on South
Uyghur
Park
Muslims
episodes.
getting executed in intern camps, whatever, and we're worried about this chick. Like,
Yeah,
where
I
are our
mean, you know what?
priorities?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I think that you know what. The other point is, Tim, is that there are different opinions. Not every single person was executed. There were people during the Prophet's lifetime who were pardoned, right after they made riddah in front of the Prophet sallallahu
Yeah,
alaihi wasallam,
there was
right?
a
So
guy who claimed prophethood, and
yes,
he was pardoned.
so my point is that there are, regardless of whatever's happening in the world or the opinion that you follow, generally, there are a wide variety of opinions about what should happen: imprisonment, banishment, shunning, and ultimately the worst of that is actually execution, right?
Yeah,
And generally, that is the most of severe, meaning when you are the most severe type of rebellion, right, or a person who is a rebel, right? But the point is, I think, look, you know how I spoke about this in the other episode a while ago, where I said, listen, if these people want to leave Islam, by all means, get out.
yeah,
I don't care about it. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going through that lens, you want to make the hoo-ha. I think right now, the Saudi government, the Muslims have a perfect opportunity to say, you know what, we don't care about you. Go. And, the Saudi government should say, you know what, as a matter of fact, come back. If you think your family is going to kill you, we will make sure that your family cannot kill you because they're not above the law. Right? I mean, that's
yeah.
what I would say. You know what I mean? Like, I would say, you know what? They're not above the law. We will personally guarantee your safety. If they want to really make a statement and show nizam and show, authority and show fairness, then I think they have a perfect opportunity. Instead of going with this whole back and forth of sending cameras and fathers over there and seeking protection and making this huge deal out of nothing, just either let her go or guarantee her safety. One of the two. Why complicate the matter? That's what I feel.
Well, I don't see Saudi Arabia making any educated decisions right now with MBS, but in the past they were very clever and shrewd politicians. They knew how to navigate some of these issues pretty well. But when you with lately with the way they've handled things, and
They'll probably just go Khashoggi her.
no, I don't think they'll do that.
She's
But
not
I
important.
just don't
Yeah,
see.
she's not that important.
Yeah, she's not.
Just
But
tease.
I think there are some people who are, who are in Saudi Arabia and they want to politicize things, and they know they'll be heralded as a celebrity in the West if they take certain positions, like apostasy, like freedom of speech. It's like
Freedom of religion.
yeah. I forgot there's some
The
guy.
journalist from Canada. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
journalist in
there's a
Canada.
Saudi kid who's was a vocal critic of the Saudis. He's also an atheist, and he's in prison in Saudi. I don't know if you remember his name, but
Well, I don't think he's an atheist, but he's very secular. I think you're talking about the one who's
the one who Arvind always brings up, Arvind Navabi from
Raif Badawi.
Ex-Mus-
Raif Badawi, that's the guy.
Okay, yeah, I think that's it.
His family is in Canada where they sought asylum,
Yeah.
and that they're like pros.
No,
And that's exactly
and no, that's the thing. Everyone wants to be this guy. They want to be the next Raif because they know once Raif gets out of Saudi Arabia, he'll be a multimillionaire. Everyone's going to be inviting him on their show. He's got it made, and I'm sure that's got to be crossing some people's minds. I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what though? It cost some countries money. Like when I was in Toronto before, there were tons of Saudis everywhere. Saudi Arabia pulled all their money from Canada now. There's not a
Yeah.
single Saudi student in Canada now,
Yeah.
right? And that's gonna hurt them ultimately. And Saudi just when they make up their mind, they're not changing their mind.
More,
And
but
so,
do you know of any from your family in Saudi Arabia? Do you know of an apostasy problem happening over there?
while there are people that are they definitely know there are people who are mulhid, like atheists.
Yeah.
But is it like a epidemic? Like, is it like, oh my God, every other person? No, I think what's happening is they're becoming more like the Muslims in America, where they're more culturally Muslim.
Yeah.
They won't leave Islam, but they're lazy, or they're not really fully practicing it.
Yeah.
But they're not leaving Islam, right? I guess what I think is happening is it's kind of like the Salafi burnout on a national level. right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're just they've had religion shoved down their throats so much they just want a breather now. They just want to live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they just want to live like normal. I mean, just kind of like, go to the movies, go to the mall, see the opposite gender for once. You know what I mean? Like just be able to listen to a song, right? I mean, stuff like that. When you make a society so, it's so repressive that you just want to break free from, you just want to breathe for a moment, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what's mainly happening.
Because
I think,
they're seeing the West and they're seeing other countries the way they operate. They're like, wait, we want that.
yeah,
Right?
I mean, and they're studying here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, imagine they're coming here, they're studying here, they're allowing to watch their movies, listen to their music, they're getting comfortable with that idea, and it becomes very difficult for somebody who maybe went to college here for 5 or 6 years and goes back to Saudi Arabia. Of course, he's going to bring back some ideas, or she's going to bring back some ideas, right?
Yeah.
It's natural, and I'm not even saying those ideas are bad. There are some good ideas that come from the West, like ideas of how we have order and laws and respect for one another. These are important ideas in the West that I think the Middle East could use, and I think that's really what they're looking for over there. I mean, I just before
Yeah.
I just say the final thing is, keep in mind that the way they define terms, it's very different than the way we define it in America. When we say freedom in America, their definition of freedom is very different. Their definition of democracy is very different, right? So when you hear these slogans, like for them, freedom might be like the freedom to go watch a movie, right? It's not the freedom to open a gay bar, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's a completely different, mindset that they have, right? So again, I don't think all of it is bad, but there's definitely a pushback now from the younger generation to say, hey, let's slow down on this, the forceful religion.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know what's going to happen in the future, but that's what I feel.
You guys should probably have Sheikh Amr come on and talk about apostasy and stuff in the Islamic, perspective. Because there's
he's part of the establishment.
questions.
We can't have him.
There's questions in the chat about
apostasy.
Yeah.
What
They're
regarding?
like, I thought there was no compulsion in religion, and
there is no compulsion.
But this is not. First of all, listen.
And that's true.
The had is not for your fact that you left Islam alone. People confuse that. The had is established when you are rebelling against the state, not against someone just saying I'm not a Muslim. Because look, it's about whenever you have hudud punishment in Islam, it's generally for the protection of society as a whole. If somebody leaves Islam, there's no way for one to know that unless he publicly declares that, right?
Right.
If someone is coming up from the mountaintops and saying, I left Islam, screw your religion, all this stuff, right? Calling people to it, the way the Islamic State has traditionally viewed that is that Islam is the state's religion and it is how the state is ruled by. Yeah. So by you attacking that and calling people away from it, it's calling for rebellion.
Well,
right?
and more, it's like just like how the Americans have someone who's a U.S. citizen who's acting as an agent on the behalf of another country. It's treason. And that's how the other view regarding treason or apostasy, in Islam, that's how it's viewed. That when you are leaving Islam and you are working again, leaving Islam and acting against the Islamic State, not ISIS, Islamic Caliphate, okay, that is an act of treason. Okay, so that's why there is a death penalty for that. That's capital punishment because you're working against the entirety of Muslims. You're not just harming yourself. You're not just harming your akhirah. You're also hurting the entirety of society. So that's the other opinion regarding apostasy in Islam. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean exactly, and by the way, first of all, these capital punishments even in countries where they're allowing it, it doesn't even happen as often as people think it does. And I'll be honest, me personally,
I don't think it happens at all. I think whatever you do hear of that happens, I think it's just like villagers who are taking the law into their own hands, and they're trying to execute someone for leaving the religion.
No, there are
like the Asia Bibi thing. That may be there, not that she's an apostate, but she was like a Christian lady who insulted the Prophet Muhammad in Pakistan. But that's a little bit different in that sense. But I'm saying usually if there was any apostate that was killed, I have not heard of that.
Well, I don't know about apostasy, but I mean, there's definitely hudud in Saudi Arabia, and the
Can you
difference is
quickly
now.
Google that more and see if
Yeah,
there's any?
I know because I've seen videos of it, and and I know people. I mean,
No,
I've
because
seen it.
they have videos of a lot of
So let me
stuff
tell.
on
Wait,
a
wait.
lot
So let me,
on YouTube and stuff like that about capital punishment, but the headline is different from the actual punishment. Sometimes
okay,
people
so
want
so
to
let me tell you
go
what's
ahead.
happening. First of all, Saudi Arabia used to do public. They used to do it publicly in the 90s and early 2000s. I mean, they used to do it after Jummah, right? Like when the hudud was out there. It might have been and I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying that's just when they had to do it. It was there, or they had like an executioner. His job was to be an executioner or someone who does ta'zir, like he would lash. But the thing is, generally, from what I've seen, I've never seen anyone in Saudi Arabia, not one report of someone being beheaded because of being a murtad. Never seen that. The only time I've seen something like that is either the murderer, who they're justifying like the killing of the family didn't want dia or blood money, they wanted eye for an eye, so he was executed, or the drug trafficker, like the one who's brought a certain amount of like hashish or pills, they executed him. I've never seen someone get their hand chopped, or although they said they have.
Well,
In some
we're
cases,
talking about apostasy, dude.
no, I've never seen anybody. I've never seen anybody being apostated in Saudi Arabia for. I mean, or kill, beheaded for apostasy in Saudi
So,
Arabia.
all right,
I've never
cool.
seen that.
Let's move on to the next subject. This girl is back in the news. So, Dina Tokio went to her her YouTube channel and said that everyone, and yes, a lot of people, said some really horrible things to her, and they completely crossed all boundaries of discourse, and they were just horribly mean, right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you saw it, and I think we both were watching together. Like, this is completely not Islamic, and the way they're behaving were, jahils, and that's
Yeah.
there's no way you can ever justify saying what you did, what you said to her. And
Wait, is Dina Tokio still relevant?
yeah,
I mean, is it still?
she's probably
Yeah.
the biggest YouTuber right now, dude.
Yeah.
So I think she is.
I mean,
At least
honestly,
for
I didn't even
Muslims.
know. But can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Let's say that somebody, did leave a nasty comment, and a bunch of people left nasty comments, right? Do we actually pay attention to trolls and actually make a video about trolls?
That's the thing.
mean,
I was just going to get to that.
But
We get those messages all the time, and we delete them. And when you're in this business, when you're in the world of YouTube, when you're surrounded by just so much craziness, anyone can go to any YouTube channel and see the comments. It could be the most beneficial video to humanity, and there'll be some crab down there saying, "I don't like I don't like the way his voice sounds. I don't like the way his nose looks, or anything." I mean, there's always something that makes people unhappy with you, and it was a little bit disingenuous of Dina to, start this because even wait one second right before this. She was getting a lot of this hate even when throughout the years of support she had. She was getting so much of this hate from several people, all over the world, that you're a fashionista and you're not supposed to wear hijab like this and stuff like that. So this is not something new to her. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead, Noreen.
okay. So there's a difference between the kinds of hate kind of emails we might get. We don't even get hate emails. It's more like, oh, why didn't you say this? And you guys are too in your echo chamber. It's like dumb stuff, right? She spent 45 minutes reading these texts, these comments that she gets, and it was attacking her Islam. It was attacking her iman. It was attacking her chastity, her moral system, questioning her faith, her iman, her modesty, her haya, like all these things that make us a Muslim. And I think I actually appreciate in the sense, like, I know I was kind of with you at first, but I kind of appreciate that she did this video, because the Muslim community has a disease. We all have a disease of our hearts. And the disease is that we sit there and judge everybody. And we think that we are in this place of like holiness that we can sit there and point fingers at everybody. Even on our own podcast, we talk about everybody. I mean, that's just part of social media. We have to talk about some of these issues just to bring light to it. We try to do it in a way that's beneficial, but the way these people were coming at her was not beneficial. They were not trying to say, sister, you need to put your hijab back on. You need to fear Allah. No, they were like, oh, next thing you know, you're going to be in a bikini. Your husband, you're just
I don't think you should repeat this stuff.
Yeah. Calling her all kinds of dirty names. She has children. She has a daughter, and they're going to
hold on. So can I just want to comment on this, dude. Honestly, call me shallow, whatever. So what? You're a public figure. You chose to live this life. You chose to do this all.
I understand that. I'm not saying that.
Wait, let me just finish what I'm saying. You chose to be this way. Out of all those 140 or whatever 200 negative comments, you probably have 5,000 positive comments. Everybody can congratulating you on what you did. The fact that you chose these comments to take some 14, 15-year-old kid who's rage typing on the internet to you and then play the victim about it and make a video about it. I don't know. I don't look. YouTube comments is not the real world. Everybody knows there are trolls on YouTube. So
let me just 1 second.
If somebody came up to her in real life and did this, I would say, yeah, that's something worth making a video about, right? I mean, if someone came out and started, shaming her, whatever, slut shaming her in public, whatever, fine, right? But YouTube comments on videos that you go, how do we know those people are even Muslims? What if they're just like other, trolls that are like from 4chan that are coming out and spamming her page?
No, more. You forget about that. Let's just assume they were all Muslims and stuff. But she was the first one who fired the first volley. She called hijabis a toxic cult.
That's true.
She's the one who fired the first volley. She's the one who made the false accusations on Muhammad Hijab and complained to YouTube that he stole her material from her website.
And let's be honest, her husband is a cuck, dude.
Yeah,
what they're saying in the room, they're probably reacting to the fact that your husband talks about this stuff in front of you. I mean, I'm only going by what I've heard from you guys in the show. I've never watched a single video of hers, right? But I'm going based on what people are telling me in the comments and all this stuff. So I'm thinking she lives that kind of life. She swears openly. She talks that way. She does that kind of stuff. She talks about that kind of stuff with her husband. I'm saying you utilize YouTube as a platform to say shocking things and do dumb things, right? Yeah. Fine. You chose to do that. So expect that same shocking comments in a negative way back at you, right? I mean if you really
and not just that, expect that kind of audience too.
Yeah,
you're going to have that shallow-minded audience.
Yeah,
because that's what you're appealing to. You're appealing to the shallowness of humans. Yeah, the fashion world, the people who care about their looks. You're people aren't watching you because you have great ideas. They're watching you
weren't some Islamic thinker that we were like so amazed by. Yeah. You just put on makeup. Half the guys who are watching you probably were getting off on you. That's probably why they're watching you. I mean, who cares? Like that's what you chose to do. You know what you were doing when you made those videos. You knew why you were putting on makeup and showing yourself to the world. I mean, I'm not buying it. I'm not saying I'm not judging her, but I'm just saying is you have to be stupid not to know as a 30-something-year-old woman that when you put on makeup live on TV, on a YouTube channel, that some guy's not perving you. You have to be an idiot not to know that, right? So people obviously that people are watching you because you're trying to look
and good. More. This is the same conversation I had with Noreen. I'm like, look, Noreen, you're coming on YouTube. There's going to be these kind of people who are on YouTube. There's this, sick, demented people who might comment about you, might make sexual references towards you. You have to be ready for that, So this is what this world is all about. Like you're kind of opening yourself up to psychopaths, essentially.
Yeah. No, I'm not denying that. I agree with you 100%. She knows her platform. This is what she set herself up for. What I'm saying is we as Muslims, the audience, need to hold ourselves accountable for how we talk and treat others, whether it's in public or whether it's on social media. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, at that point, yeah, but I don't think we have to use this as an example to say, oh my God, look how bad Muslims are. You just go to Twitter. Twitter is full of,
I think there's plenty of wonderful Muslims, Sister Noreen.
There are.
Yeah, and not only that, I'm just saying Muslim Twitter is full of comments. I mean, do we go to every single feminist Muslim, feminazi Muslim who leaves all these anti-Muslim men comments and say, this is not how you should behave in public and make a video about it? I mean, if I made a video about how many of these people said they're offended by me and said, I'm appalled, oh my God, they're hurting my feelings. And this is how you deal with a brother. If you really wanted to advise me, you would PM me. I mean, I could play the victim too, dude. Who cares? You're a public figure on YouTube. Deal with it. I wouldn't even read the negative comments. Just delete them.
Just delete them.
No,
Or,
but you
comments,
know what?
Every YouTuber has this option called comments are disabled for this video. Boom.
Yeah. You can't
Finish.
handle it.
Nothing would have happened. Nothing.
No,
So,
no,
Dude,
I'm going to tell you something that just happened this weekend. Okay, someone made a comment saying that some of the things we talk about on like Taboo Thursdays is, I don't know, like
adult rated,
and we need to make sure that we're
it's supposed to be that way.
It's lacking haya, that we need to make sure that we are holding ourselves like accountable, that we're trying to serve Allah and try to make sure our conversations are beneficial, which I think we are. But anyway, whatever it was, I told Sim, I was like, I don't know if I can continue doing the show. I was like, I feel so ashamed. Like, I don't even know if I said something. I don't know who they're talking about, but it's making me feel ashamed. And I felt very, very, I was like depressed like the whole weekend. I mean, I wasn't even like talking on our WhatsApp groups. Like, I was just, right? I kind of shut down. I was like, I don't even know, like, did I do something wrong? Do I need to do like a stuck for, so
maybe
what I'm
you need
saying
some
is,
heart softeners.
So and the thing is, I'm on the show with my husband. Okay, I'm on the show with my husband, and yeah, we talk about things that are right, but it's because I feel safe because I'm with my husband, and if he has a problem, he would voice it right away, live. Like, okay, I don't think this is appropriate. I don't like you guys talking with my wife, like, right? You would have said, and you would tell me after the show too, if you weren't comfortable with some of the things we talked about, but at the same time, I'm like the biggest critic, and I really don't see anything that's really crossing any line. I don't even think we've approached the line yet, to be honest. I just
look,
don't.
man. That's probably some guy that's probably just low down jokes off.
So,
anyway, I don't even like buy it, dude. Look. If you want to listen to it, don't listen to it, right? I mean, you have the option not to watch this channel. You know what I mean? I mean, look, honestly, if we live our life by how people, you know what I mean, like they just constantly pick at you, and you do that, you have to know your own intention, right? We know what we're doing here, right? Look, sure, can I be advised? Absolutely. Advise me all you want. That's fine, right? But I don't necessarily have to take your advice. I mean, I know what I'm doing here for my reasons and for what I do. And the reason why you don't have a show is because you're boring and you're not entertaining. And people want to listen to the real truth sometimes. And that's what just happens.
Look, 99% of people I know don't care whether, she's wearing a hijab or not. You just don't wear that awful Sikh turban looking thing.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
That's not a hijab. You can even call that hijab. Hijab.
No, that's a Sikh turban. That's a Sikh turban. What is that? And that can get look. This thing can get you shot. This thing can get you shot because somebody might mistake you for a Sikh. And
no, wait, Sim. Do you know what that reminds me of? Do you remember that movie Big?
Yes.
Remember the movie Big and that little fortune thing in the machine?
Yes.
It looks like that. Like this thing that grant me a fortune.
Oh my God. No, I don't even consider that hijab, dude, because what it says in the Quran is to take your khimar and cover your chest with it.
Listen.
You can't cover your chest with the turban. How are you covering your chest with that?
Well, you could cover something else. I mean, you could technically drape yourself, but look, I just don't like the.
It doesn't matter.
It says
to me,
take your head scarf and cover your chest with it.
It doesn't matter. Let's just say whatever. Let's just say she thinks it's a hijab. Okay, how's that? She thinks it's a hijab. I'm just saying. That's an awful style that can get you in trouble, and a lot of people from the Sikh community end up getting attacked because.
Yeah, when I see that, I expect to see like bananas and like a fruit basket on top. You know what I mean? Like,
that looks silly.
I expect to see.
So wrong.
No, it look. I don't understand what the fascination is of that look. That looks. It could also be interpreted as a cancer patient. People might be coming up to you and saying, "Are you okay? How many weeks do you have left?" You know. I'm just saying.
That was funny, man. Astaghfirullah. But anyways, look, I mean, look. This is what I'm gonna say. Okay, about the comments, right? You could be doing something 100% right, and there's always gonna be somebody that will criticize you. And this goes back to some of the other episodes we talked about. Muslims are like crabs in a bucket, right? The minute somebody gets out, one of the crab is pulling you back down, right? They don't like what you're doing. If that brother was sincere in his advice, may Allah reward him. Barakallahu feek, right? We heard it, and if whatever from that we think applies to us, we'll apply it, but you have no right to continue and hound and force anyone's opinions upon anybody, right? I mean, when you're out here making a difference, when you're out here doing something and you're actually making a positive influence, then you can put yourself in our position. But right now, I don't think we do anything that's crazy anyways. We're talking about stuff that you guys already talk about anyways. The only difference is that we'll bring it to light so that you guys don't have to go in private conversations and DMs and talk about it and then act like a pervert in like a fool in private, right? So we're trying to bring that to light. Do you know what I mean? Like, why is that such an issue? You're just imagining like things don't happen will not solve the problem, right? We talk about real issues that our ummah is facing. So why is that so difficult to understand? It's not like we're encouraging people to go be porn stars and to take off their hijab or to go and do LGBTQ stuff. No, we're actually talking about it in a candid way and trying to warn people about this kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so why is that so bad?
I agree with you. Let's wrap this baby up. We have.
I didn't sneeze.
Hey, Noreen has been sick this whole.
I was sneezing right before the show, sneezing my head
I think it's because you're excited. Your dopamine's working.
She was not going to show up this.
Yeah.
For this episode.
I was thinking about canceling today too, Tim. You know that?
Oh,
really?
Wow.
I was like low energy today.
What? You low energy?
Yeah, I was low energy today. I was tired.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
I man, I don't know, man. I got so much stuff to do, but I'm like,
well, okay. We'll wrap it up quick.
I got to do it for the fans.
Let's go ahead and give a shout out to halfardeen.com for the private matrimonial experience. Go to halfardeen.com. Get a profile made in as little as 5 minutes. wahidinvest.com is a company dedicated to halal investing. Make sure the money that you earn this year is earned through wahidinvest.com. And finally, mywasiya.com is a website that is dedicated to building a Sharia compliant will. Go to mywasiya.com and get a will completed in as little as 15 minutes. Print it out and get it notarized at your local bank. And you have a legal tender will. All right. That being said, do we have any last questions? No? Speak now, forever hold your peace.
We ignored the text today for some reason. I think
because last week you guys were completely ignoring me and leaving me hanging. Both of you were addicted to the text.
What?
Well, not me. I just had to respond to somebody that was trying to challenge my position.
Oh.
That's all.
You don't have to respond to him.
No, I did better this time. Make sure I didn't.
MashaAllah.
And I'm actually Noreen. You didn't zone out for once. You weren't like Amazon shopping.
No, I know. I noticed I have been doing that, so I tried not to zone out. I try to be.
Yeah, that's good. I think we should pull your phone next time, just because you're unable to just separate from it.
You know what I did? The social media episode you just did on Saturday with Nurul Maliki. So what I did was I went on my phone. I recommend this for everybody. I turned off all my notifications on my WhatsApp, on my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, turned it completely off so I don't get even those numbers in the corner telling me how many people. And I am not picking up my phone as often. So if you're trying to do a social media fast or try to limit how much you're on social media, I recommend turning off all your notifications. So that's my
cool. And before we wrap this up, don't forget Patreon. We need to get you guys on there to donate to us. And
Patreon.com/the Mad Mamluks. Yep. This is an effort that is nowhere else to be found. No one can. We have no rival essentially.
Hey, so, at $50 a month, apparently you can still join our WhatsApp group. You didn't change that, so
$50
a month. Get into the WhatsApp group.
You can end up. You can pitch in for ideas for Mad Mondays, Taboo Thursdays.
I mean, real talk. We have so many ideas that we want to do, and so many cool ideas, innovative ideas. But we need like your support for us because we can't. Yeah. We've tried to fund this as much as we could, and we have a lot more content, a lot more ideas, fun things, important things. But we need you guys to participate. I mean, we need you guys to help because obviously you guys are enjoying. You guys tune in all the time, and you guys listen to the episodes. Yep. Just make that leap of faith in us. Put some. We'll guarantee you we'll come out with some good stuff. We have plans for the future. We have plans to grow. This is only one portion of what we're doing. Right? We have a dream here. I know it sounds cliche, but we have goals and dreams, and there's and with Sim the mastermind behind it, and Noreen doing all that back end office work, and we've got our marketing team, and we've got all these people that are involved. You know, we're trying to explode here in 2019. We're trying to make that our year.
Yeah, make
right?
that happen.
We
So
need
help us reach that goal. If you really like the content, show your appreciation. Because we don't get paid for this, right? Guys, we literally take time of our day. We're tired just like you guys, right? We go to work, we have families, we have bank accounts. We all worry about this stuff, right? But we're doing this because we feel like it's important. So if you feel like it's important like us, show us that. Help us out, donate to that, subscribe to us. Show that our effort is actually worth something to you.
Awesome.
And one of the ideas that we have real quick is making some Mamluks merch. So if you guys have ideas of things that you think you'd be interested, we've been thinking about hoodies and joggers.
Yeah, and if you guys are like graphic designers, that would be even great. Like we would love to see some of the work we have people that we consult with or hire for temporary work, but we would, if you guys can do it for free, that would be great.
Yeah,
and that's your logo.
Somebody make me a fitted hat with the so I don't have to wear a socks hat all the time, so people don't confuse it for sex. Just make me a Mad Mamluks hat.
A TMM hat. Let's make it happen, nation.
It'll look like the money team, right? DMT. It's like TMM.
The money team, yeah. TMT. Well, we're TMM though. But anyway.
TMM. That's what I mean.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see you all on Taboo Thursdays. If you guys have any ideas for Taboo Thursdays, make sure you give us a shout out on Facebook and Twitter. What else are we on? Instagram.
Yep.
info@themadmamluks.com is where you reach us.
Email. Let us know your thoughts.
Cool.
You can Facebook DM us on Facebook or Twitter.
All right. We'll see you all next this Thursday.
All right. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.